Have you ever wondered that as a musician, some of the music that has influenced us the most might have actually come from some of the video games that we spend so much time enjoying when we were younger? Resident Evil would definitely fall in this category for me. I can distinctly remember watching my older cousins play the game and spend way too much time in the inventory save screen. When you would enter the safe room, this beautiful, haunting, arpeggiated melody would play over and over and over again. And yeah, I've now come to realize that maybe video games influence our style of writing our music more than we even think. I like dark chord progressions. I like ninth intervals on my chords, melodic leaps. This theme has all of those things. And so to celebrate Halloween on the channel, I thought, why not dive into this original Resident Evil save screen theme? It's a fantastic piece of music to learn from. And you can make some really cool sound design discoveries in Ableton Live when you dive into these kinds of sounds and how you want to create them for yourself. It's also a pretty minimal theme, like you only have two chords and they share the same scale, but it's the Phrygian mode, which is a beautiful scale to write music with. Now, what's also really great about this theme is it's super playable, even if you're fairly new to the piano. For instance, you can just start with one hand playing not even a triad. I mean, in reality, we're kind of playing these two chords, C minor to D flat or C sharp major, the first two triads of the Phrygian mode. But you don't even have to do that. You could just go these two outer notes. So get rid of the middle note and just go back and forth with your left hand. Then we'll add on the right hand. So we have these three notes here, and it's kind of cool because when you play all these notes at once, you get this really nice minor 9 chord, which is pretty jazzy. And when you move up to the next chord, you bring your right hand to the right as well, and you get this chord. This is also a major 9 chord, so another 9 chord. It also has a sharp 11. They almost sound like jazz chords when you block them in like that, but then you just arpeggiate it. So you go up, we'll get rid of that middle note, and finish with C. You just do the same thing when you go up. And that's all it is. Really pretty, really dark, really beautiful. Really cool arpeggiation. And it's very simple, it's just two chords. And I always feel like two chords are kind of a great way to write more with a mode. If you're not used to writing melodies and ideas with modes or different variations of minor scales you might not be used to, two chords is a great place to start just in general. So as a music producer, you can start to think of the idea that you have these two chords. It's like a perfect canvas for writing really beautiful arpeggios. And the Phrygian mode in particular, it has a minor third. It's very closely related to the natural minor scale. But you have all these scales that you're seeing on the screen right now. You have these two chord progressions. They're all slightly different from one another. They all have a minor third. They're all related to the natural minor scale, but they're all slightly different. So with two chords, you can explore those scales as a music producer, get a lot of really cool sounds. You also don't have to be confused about how you write these melodies. When you're in the piano roll screen, you have a scale highlight feature, which is going to correspond to the clip that you have highlighted when you go up to the top left, and this drop down menu is your scale mode. So if I go to this drop down menu, you can see all those same scales. It's really cool. You can see you got the minor scale right there. There's Dorian right underneath it. There's Phrygian like we were just talking about. And let's see, we also have got the harmonic minor. That's going to give your music a real classical feel to it. It can be very dark sounding too if you want it to be. And there's a bunch of scales in here. Melodic minor, that's another great one. And you can just basically select any of these and it will change the scale highlight, so when you pick out your melodies, you can see what's happening on the screen. And it is true when you go back to the original melody that, or the arpeggiation, I guess I should say, that there is a D natural in there. So it's not strictly diatonic to Phrygian, like there's not all just D flats, but that's why I call it a Phrygian chord progression, because it's a minor triad up a half step to a major triad. That's kind of a neat way to think of it. But yeah, of course, in the original, it is maybe modulating, or it's not strictly Phrygian. But let me know in the comments if anyone has that kind of music theory background, if you like to mix these scales together in the same composition, because they're so near each other, right? They're only just slight differences. It's really cool. It's actually really easy to mix these things together, because if you're watching this on Patreon right now, you'll find the full Ableton Live template, which is linked down below. If you're on YouTube, it's in the description. And it basically goes along with this very modular approach to writing with these different minor scales, you could call them. It's really cool. There's all these different shades that you'll get from these different chord progressions. And I've also included separate attachments in the MIDI file, so you can do this in any DAW if you want to, even BandLab. You just drag and drop them in. And what's really cool from a sound design perspective is what you can learn about how to create these sounds in your Ableton. A lot of my longtime subscribers on the channel know I like to do a lot of Ableton stuff. Here you have tension. So tension, if you go to your instruments, you search it up, this is actually a physical modeling synthesizer that's basically designed to emulate the sound of string instruments. It's really, really cool. What I've actually done in this patch is I've stacked up two presets you probably have. I've altered them a bit, but the 12-string chorus guitar and the fretless bass. And it kind of goes along with this idea of using a physical modeling synthesizer to get sort of a guitar-esque sound. In this case, this one has a little more of an electric guitar vibe to it. So in this way, you're kind of splitting the duties of how you achieve this sound. Like for instance, on the 12-string chorus guitar preset, I have altered these presets a lot, but you can get the preset down below, drag and drop it in, or just build it yourself. This one's handling more of the plectrum part of the sound. So that kind of picking aspect of it. And then if I solo this one, fretless bass, got that very warm body of the sound of the guitar sound. So you have these two things kind of working together, and the channel rack, you can actually mix them together with these volume faders as well. And there's a lot of complex parameters with physical modeling because you're trying to emulate the sound of something real, like a string in, the physical world. So don't get overwhelmed. These presets are a great starting point, and you can experiment away with the 4 different sections. They're going to affect the sound a lot, also based on where you're at on the keyboard. So keep that in mind. But when you have these two sounds stacked together in the instrument rack, it really helps balance out what you want to do with the sound. And then you have these effects. So the saturator, EQ, and parallel effects, which I have going on right here, these things make a big difference in sort of gluing those two sounds together. So a lot of reverb, got some of that doubler effect that we've covered previously on the channel, great stereoizing effect. And then another thing I really like to do is Redux, which is this sort of lo-fi plugin with Ableton. It does a really great job. You can see here these settings I'm using, they're very simple. It's just kind of reducing the sound and making it lower fidelity. This thing really does work. You can get great third-party plugins as well, but this thing really does the job of making something sound older, like older digital. And I really, really like it. I have a Korg wave station, so I'm kind of used to what this sound feels like. That sort of lower fidelity digital thing, and this thing really does work well. It's pretty simple to use too. You can see the settings I'm using. There's a lot of other really neat things in Ableton when it comes to the sound design of these different sounds. Like here I have the string part. And it kind of sounds like a typical synth string, but you're trying to add that little extra bit of realism to the sound. A lot of people don't realize that you have these drop-down menus in the wavetable synth. So you have so many different options that you can pick from to create sounds with. In this case, I'm just using one oscillator, and it's the strings 2 oscillator in wavetable. And that goes a really long way. I just kind of filter the sound down. I do have an LFO on the stray setting, which is kind of randomly wiggling around the oscillator position. You can see that little blue dot. It's being controlled by this LFO. And that's helping the oscillator position kind of wiggle, which if you think about it in real life with, people playing violins and cellos, what are they doing with that bow and their fingers? They're moving, they're kind of wiggling, and that's creating that randomness. So that's a really neat trick to kind of create more movement in a synth string sound that creates a lot more realism, I feel like. It's kind of a pretty similar idea too. The reverb helps kind of blend it into everything and make it a little more obscured so it sounds more real that way. And then I'm doing the same thing, redux, and then just cleaning up the lows a little bit because it is a darker, like murkier sound. Here's also the flute sound. This one's really cool. So it sustains right through. And then it sort of glides down and comes back up. I'm almost kind of wondering if they had taken something when they made this music and like reversed a sample and brought down its pitch, because it just has that sort of mirrored kind of effect to it, melodically or whatever. I don't know. I digress. But if you look at it, I've got basically an instrument rack again. I'm stacking two things to handle two different parts of the sound. And in this case here, I've got wavetable. And I'm just using the sine wave here. I don't know why it's on that wave, but I'm just using the sine wave for that really pure tone. And then here I've got drift, and it's literally just the noise oscillator to try and give a little more of an airy sound. And again, you kind of use things like the saturator. I've got some delay. I've got the large space chorus. Great preset in Ableton. If you haven't tried it yet, that's a great reverb preset to use. And then a little bit of redux. And it just goes a long way to kind of glue things together. And that glide effect is really cool. What you got to make sure you do is make sure that you have wavetable here in mono mode with the glide turned on so that those MIDI notes will actually slide down or slide up based on the timing that you choose to pick for it. So in this case, I have it on about 1.5 seconds or a little more than that. And I found that works really well. But this is going to be a case-by-case basis. But play around with it. It's sometimes a lot better to use this than trying to do it with the mod wheel or the pitch bend wheel, because that actually can be kind of limiting. So yeah, definitely make sure to make things monophonic, and then you'll have the glide feature that you can utilize. Now, it is true that when it comes to guitar sounds and plucked guitar sounds and flute type sounds, it can be a lot harder to get this with the MIDI instrument kind of thing, like physical modeling synths or subtractive synthesis. It can be really hard. And you can use a sample. Like here I have just a simple C note sample of the type of flute I think that was used in this theme. Now, if you can find a sample like this and you can tune it to C, you can place it into your keyboard really easily. If you've never done this before, it's very simple to do. I'm just going to make a new MIDI track. I'm going to select Simpler, and you just drag this sample into Simpler. And you can see here, if I make it bigger, I can basically just go to Loop and turn Fade all the way up and turn Loop down. And you'll get this triangle. You can actually adjust it here with Start and with Length. So Start will kind of move it to the right, sort of, and Length I found moves it to the left. And so you're just looking for a sweet spot where that triangle can fall. I did this before on the channel if you missed that video, but that's a really quick way to build a sweet spot to loop a sample. And even if you just have a decent amount of sustain in that sample, you can create a loop region. And then you can actually kind of create the same sound that we did with the synths for the flute. So now what I'm going to do is go to voices, which by default is on 6, like it's polyphonic for chords. I'm going to set it to 1. And then what I can do is over here is go to glide, and I'm going to turn it on. So I'm going to grab the glide and the timing, just like the last one, you could do, 1.7 seconds. So 1700, that'll give you 1.7 like I had in the other synth. And we can literally just layer on the same effects that I used on the virtual instruments for this one. We'll grab those, copy paste them on the end of the chain. And let's just swap this in with the arrangement, see how it sounds with the new flute sound from the sample. So yeah, feel free to give these techniques a try on your computer. I think a lot of music producers might really overlook just the power of using just 2 chords. You can arpeggiate out like a really beautiful melody, experience a different scale. It's a lot of fun. And to be honest, it's just really cool to take a deeper look into a video game theme that I have kind of ingrained in my memory. I'd love for you guys to comment if there's video game themes that were an inspiration to you. I'm sure there's many of them, right? There's so many classics. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you enjoy the content, you want to support the channel. That's a great way to do it. The Ableton template is linked down below. That's all the presets, all the MIDI. You can play around with different things in the live session mode, use it in any DAW you want. The MIDI's all separate as well. The Patreon is a great place to join. There's a whole community of really talented people there, and you can promote your music there, help us get you some streams if you're new to publishing your music. There's a massive exclusive library, MIDI, presets, vocal production course, lots of stuff, lots of exclusives. Thank you guys so much for watching. Huge shout out to our amazing October Patreon members this month. You guys are the ones that keep this channel alive, keep us moving forward. Thank you all so much. And yeah, I'll see you on the next one. Even if you're watching this video very far in the future, happy Halloween. Have fun making music.